Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are making a couple batches of spaghetti sauce since I am out. And I thought I made a video previously, but it was really just a video of me putting the stuff in the pot and then, oh look at me, I'm done. I thought it would have been helpful to look back and say, oh, what was the recipe that I used? Well, I didn't do that. So anyways, I did a previous video and I used the number 10 cans that you can get from the big Walmart. You can come at me if you want. Whatever, is what it is. I never grow enough tomatoes and have enough time to process all the tomatoes to make enough spaghetti sauce for myself and my family for a whole year. It just doesn't happen. So when I found these number 10 cans, I was like, oh, I just need the tomato pasty tomato sauce. And I will show you, here's the ingredients. You know, pause if you want to see. So there's really not much in it. It's tomato puree, water, salt. There's a lot of salt in these cans because that's how they do their preserving. So when I do a recipe and I use stuff like this is pretty much really the only thing I use this for. But I will omit any salt because there's already a lot of salt in it. So in this big stock pot, and when I get things going, I will not put salt in it. I will put some brown sugar in it because brown sugar cancels out the salt. So if it's too salty, you use sugar. And since the tomato sauce is red, I just use brown sugar because it's okay to use that color. And it works out really perfectly. I actually did one recipe where I had way too much salt in it and I was like in tears crying. So I looked up, I'm like, oh, what negates salt? And they're like, sugar. And if it's for a sauce, you can use brown sugar and it's perfect. Oh, what a lifesaver that was. So I have my big stock pot on my stove and I'll get this started before I get the canner out. Don't mind my kitchen because that's one of the big renovations that we have planned in the next couple of years. So I will definitely have a 40-inch range oven. So it'll be a big mamma jamma and a pot filler because I can't wait to have a pot filler. So anyway, I believe this is a 64 quart stock pot. So I only bought 4 number 10 cans because all 4 of them will fit into this stock pot. And then you just put whatever in it is what you want to taste. So I'll show you some things. It's not exact. I'm not doing anything that's an exact measurement here. I'm just basing things off of taste. I'm not worried about putting too much peppers or onions in it. So tomatoes have a certain acidity level that allows you to be able to water bath can them. You know, there's pretty much everything else almost besides like tomatoes in jellies and jams or like pickles. I make pickles and I can use that in a water bath canner. Everything else needs to be pressure canned because you have to get the bacteria out of it. The tomatoes and the pickles, you know, you're putting vinegar in it and it's a super high acidity level, so you don't have to worry about that. But I am pressure canning this, so I will show you what we put in here for peppers and onions and seasoning. A lot of times you just put seasoning in. I do tend to keep it down a little bit and more of a plain level because a lot of times when I use the sauce and I'm cooking with it, I tend to add spices when I'm cooking. So you can do that too because you can always add spices, but you can't take stuff away. So I'll show you how we are setting all this up. Okay, so I have my stock pot on the stove. We're heating everything up. I don't have to cook this. I just have to get it to temperature so I can put it in my pressure canner because the pressure canner will do all the cooking for me. So you're gonna put all the ingredients in. Make sure you like the taste of it so you can add stuff at this point. You can always add stuff, but you can't take stuff away. So we put all 4 cans in the stock pot and I turned it on while we cut everything up. So I'm just gonna start putting stuff in and stirring her up. Of course, everything's according to your taste, so you put whatever you want in here. So we're like 2.5 cups of green peppers. I was gonna do 2 cups of kind of everything to see how I liked it, but we used 2 medium to large size green peppers, so I'll put all this in. And again, this is just the spaghetti sauce, so I don't particularly need a whole bunch of stuff in it because I like to add some spices and stuff in it as I'm using it when I'm cooking with it. So I tend to keep this a little on the plain side. Here's the 2 cups of onions that Kara did not like using our hand food processor. I guess I need to get a, an electric one or something, but this works too. We'll get 2 cups of that. I did 1 whole head of garlic. I like garlic, but I don't like it too garlicky. So this is, where's the measurement here? This is like 1/4 cup. So I'll put this in. I can add more. Like I said, you can always add more. You can't take away. And the brown sugar, because these cans are super salty for the preservation of putting them in a can. So I'm going to negate some of that salt by putting the brown sugar in. When you measure brown sugar, you have to pack it down. So it's packed down. I got 2 cups. I'll start stirring this in and then I'll add some spices. I've got some oregano, what else I got? Basil, just some parsley and just some Italian seasoning. And I'll just do that to taste. I mean, it may look like that I put a lot in here, but I mean, this is 64 ounces. Once I get this stirred up, it'll be just fine. Actually, it might not even be enough, but I think it's going to be enough for us. Just enough for the taste of it, just to have something in it. And again, I'm just gonna heat this up. I'm not actually cooking it on the stove because I'm gonna get my pressure canner out and start my pressure canning process, get my jars in the oven, because you can pressure can one of 2 ways: hot, 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 or cold, 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 which means your hot canner with hot jars in your hot product you can. Or you can have a cold product, cold jars, cold canner, and then start the canner and it slowly heats stuff up. That's how you break jars if you interchange hot and cold. I tell you, I've done that a few times. That's no good. Alrighty. Whew, that smells good. And I know maybe not a lot of people have this giant stock pot, 64 ounce, but the regular can, just the 1 can is, oh jeez, 6 pounds 9 ounces. What did I think I did the math. I think it's 115 ounces maybe, something like that. It's just over 100 ounces. So you can use a smaller pot and just do 1, if you want to do it that way too. But because I'm just putting I like to pressure can stuff nowadays. I know that everything is up to par, everything gets above temperature. The pressure canning actually uses the steam and takes the temperature above the boiling point of water. Because the boiling point of water is 212 degrees, so it uses the steam and the pressure, and it takes the temperature above that 212 degrees, so you can kill off bacteria that could survive that 212 degree temperature. And that's what makes it safe to put on your shelf. Makes it shelf stable. Alright, so I think I got everything blended in right now. I just wanted to get those raw ingredients in. The peppers, the onions are raw, so then I can put the spices in. That doesn't make much of a difference. They'll just be in it. So I'm gonna use oregano, some basil, parsley. I got this big thing of parsley because it was available. I do have some Italian seasoning, but I think I'll wait on that and see how it tastes, because it's all in how you want it to taste. So definitely the oregano. Ooh, if I can get this open. Eeks! Well, that smells good. I just did half. I said, you can add more, but you can't take it away. I made that mistake with the salt. I won't do that again. Basil. And some parsley. Alright, we'll stir this in, and then I'll grab my pressure canner and start heating that up. Okay, so I got my pressure canner out. See what I mean? See what I mean? I don't have enough room on this stove. This is crazy. Usually the exhaust on my microwave automatically turns on once I get canning. So I have my jars in the oven at 170 degrees. I had a brand new pack, so I washed them with hot soapy water. Then I put the jars in the oven cold. Put them in the oven cold, and then turn the oven on to 170 and then let them sit, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. As long as I've washed them, I'm okay. You really just want to get the glass up to temperature so that when you put them in the hot canner, they don't explode, because that's a problem. Had that happen before. Not pretty. So I got the canner, and hey, let me know if anybody wants me to do a video on the pressure canning process, because I can do that. I mean, I'm not a super duper duper expert, but obviously I know enough to use it, because I use it all the time and I love it. So I got my canner here. There is a little thing on the bottom. This is not on. It keeps the jars off of the bottom so they don't get burnt, because they will break if they are directly on the bottom. There is 3 quarts of water in here. There is, there's a line on here. I can't, oh, it's over here. There are hash marks on each part of the canner. And the bottom hash mark is 3 quarts. So there's 3 quarts of water in there. Then we have the top. So I have to inspect everything and make sure everything is up to snuff before I do anything. Here's the pressure gauge, the steam releaser. We inspect the seal, because this seals everything up. I make sure that there's no cracks. What you can also do too is put some little tiny bit of olive oil to lube on here, but everything looks good, nothing's cracked, nothing's broken. And then I have to look through, hang on. I look through the hole in my steam chamber and make sure that the steam release is not plugged up. So I've done my inspection, looks good. and a book. This book is invaluable. This is like a little Bible for pressure canning. It has instructions, what each piece is for, how many jars you can put in this specific canner, and it has recipes and tells you the timing for the pressure canning. You need to know what elevation you live at to do pressure canning. I am 350 feet above sea level. I am not very far above sea level. So everything is based off of your elevation for the pressure canning. So I will run it. So if it's 0 to 1,000 feet above sea level, you do 11 pounds of pressure. Technically it's 10, but you always want to do 1 pound of pressure above what you're supposed to do, because if that gauge goes below the pressure that it's supposed to be at, then you have to get it back up to the right pressure, and then you have to start all over again with your time. So that's why they recommend doing 1 pound of pressure above the recommended. So technically it's 10 pounds of pressure, but they tell you 11. So I will keep it at 11 pounds per pressure. And I bought this handy dandy weight because the weight that comes with this pressure canner is a 15-pound weight. I will burn everything at 15 pounds of pressure. So they have this handy dandy little weight, and you can take weights on and off of it. So if it's by itself, this is 5 pounds of pressure. So you put it on here, and I'll show you once we get going, and it will let the steam out to 5 pounds per pressure. So I put 1 weight on there, and that makes 10. So this is perfect for me. It comes with another weight, so you can make it 15, but this is perfect. So, you know, if I have to go to the bathroom or something, I don't have to stand here and stare at it every second. Although you always need to pay attention to your pressure canner. Safety first. I don't stand in front of it. I don't stand next to it. I'm not like, ooh, hi, pressure canner, while I'm canning. You know, keep a safe distance. Use common sense, people, okay? So I did check the temperature of the tomato sauce, and it was creeping up to 180 degrees. So I can probably start my canner. I'm just heating this up so that everything is the same temperature when I put it in the pressure canner. And it smells so good. Plus I want to make sure all my ingredients are mixed in. So let's recap. The oven is on. My jars are in the oven. They're washed, they're clean, they're heating up. I put my lids in water. I think the new ball lids do not have to be heated or warmed up. Really, it's just to moisten them. It's just to moisten the seal, and that way you get a good seal. So I don't even turn that burner on. It's warm enough just to have some warm water moisten the seal. So now I'm going to turn my canner on about high, because it won't take long for that to start boiling. Once that is boiling, I will start filling my jars and putting them in. So again, safety first. I take my jars out with mitts and put them on the counter. I fill them up. It's gonna get really, really messy here. I put a splash of white vinegar in my water. I have really hard water, but even if you don't, you should put some in anyways. It helps protect your canner. So I'm gonna put a splash in here. I'm gonna do it each time I use the canner. Okay. Let's pull these out. I'm going to turn this off for a second because I'm going to have my... These babies are going to be hot. Be careful. Well, let's see. I'll do 2 at a time. So I'll show you the 2 and then move on. my ladle, my big scoopy ladle. I'm going to stir real good first. I want to touch it, but I don't want to touch it. And then we're going to fill the jar up till about 1 inch of headspace. Alright, you also have another tool here. This will gauge the depth. Oh, look at that! Right at 1 inch, perfectly. It'll tell you the depth. So here's your headspace, 1 inch. Also, I mean, this is a liquid, so you want to make sure that all the bubbles are out of it. But this is a liquid, and I poured it in. And it should be fine, but you can also go through, stir. And then you're going to go through and wipe all the rims with white vinegar. Whoop. Ooh, that's hot. Ooh, that's delicious. Ooh, and it's really hot too. White vinegar on a paper towel. Wipe all the rims. You want no residue on the top of the jars when you're putting these lids and bands on. All right, we need one more tool. Oh, where's my tool? In my drawer, it's been a while. Magnet. Hi, little magnet stick. We're gonna take our lids. Look at that. Because now this is all clean, you don't want to touch it, okay? And you don't want to touch the rubber part on the lid. Boop. Boop. And you don't have to get it in the, well, it is pretty hot water. I didn't even have the burner on, and it was behind the big stock pot, so boop. This thing is worth its weight in gold. I'm sure I got it off of Amazon. Top's on. Now we put the bands on. Lids on, bands on. Finger tight. It's gonna be so hard because I'm not gonna be able to touch these things anyways. Woo, woo, hot mama. This is where we work fast. You. Ha. Just hand tight, not too tight, because you want any air that's in there to escape. That's the whole point of the canning process. Hot mama. Jar lifter. Look at this. Lift it in the canner. My canner is boiling. We're going to space these out. Careful, 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 because these are all glass. You don't want glass jars. You don't want them touching in the boiling water. Look at me, I'm so sure I have a step stool. But you all will laugh at me if I use it, so whatever. Alright, jars are separated. Nobody's touching. This guy goes in the middle. Nobody touching? That one's touching. Stop touching! Woo, steamy. All right, I'm gonna let that boil for 10 minutes. Okay, it's been 10 minutes, so I'm gonna put the top on now. Push, turn. The handles will be right on top of each other. Then I'm going to let this steam. Once the steam starts coming out, I'm going to wait another 10 minutes. Now she's steaming. This is what you want to wait for till it's a full steam. And then wait 10 more minutes. It is time to put the weight on. Ready? Here we go. Put the weight on. Then we watch the gauge until it gets up to the 11 pounds of pressure that we need. And then it'll start, the weight will start rocking because it'll release the steam that's anything above the 11 pounds of pressure. Well, 10, it's a 10-pound weight, so it'll go to 11 pounds. And then we just wait. So once it gets to that 11 pounds of pressure, that's when you start the timer. Not a second before. You start the timer then, and we'll do 20, well, it's 20 minutes. I'll probably do like 22 minutes just to be on the safe side. Here we go, we hit the 10 pounds of pressure on the pressure gauge. And we will start to see this weight start rocking because it's gonna release the pressure that's too much to keep it down at 10, which will be at 11. Once it starts really rocking, then I will turn the heat down a little bit at a time until we'll see it's releasing the steam, releasing that pressure. Now we're at 10, 11. Trying to get up to 12, but we're releasing that pressure. Once you start doing this over and over again, you kind of get a feel for what it sounds like, so I will turn it down little by little until I get the right temperature. But at this point, I can set the timer. Okay, so my 22-minute timer just went off, so all I'm going to do is turn the stove off. I'm going to let the pressure naturally come down until it completely is depressurized. So really at this point, what I'm going to do is start the next batch. So I got the jars, the next set of jars already washed while the timer was going. Use the time that you have. And I put the jars in the oven, started the oven, so that way, because it takes about 15 to 20 minutes or so for the pressure to all get back down to absolute zero, no pressure in the canner at all. So once I do that, I'll have everything all ready to go. I'll take the jars out and put them, well, on my dryer, on a towel, and then I will put the next batch in and start all over. So the pressure is completely down from the pressure canner. I took the weight off. It's a little warm, so be careful. And I'm going to take the top off. This is very hot, so be careful. So you're going to do everything really, really slowly. And then when you take the top off, you're going to open the top away from you because there's still a little bit of steam left. As you can see the steam coming out. And you don't want that towards your face. Of course, I wish I didn't have this microwave here, but I'm going to put this over by my sink so it can cool down naturally. I'm going to take my jar lifter very carefully because these are very hot. They're still very tentative. And I'm going to put these down here. Okay, so they are, if you can see, they're still kind of boiling as I pulled them out. So as the temperature comes down, then the lids will start the suction process. So you'll hear the top suck in. So you know I'm not going to touch these now because I don't want to artificially push that popper down. You'll hear them dunk, dunk. That means that the, oh, right there. That was that one. I can see the little popper is down. See, these are still up, but as they cool, they'll bink. And boy, what a pleasurable sound that is. So, we got to do this all over again. So ready? Round 2. Okay, so the timer went off again for the second time, 22 minutes. I turned the stove off. I'm gonna let the pressure come down naturally. I'll let everything cool down overnight here, sitting on my dryer. I'll take the lids, the bands off after tomorrow, and I'll clean the tops just to make sure no sauce leaked out. But so far all the tops have popped, so everything's sealed, and I hope this was super helpful. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, do that now, so I have more how-to videos on my canning stuff and gardening stuff. And as always, from my coop to yours, thank you for growing with me so I can grow with you.